It is the second day of December 2021. Good evening and welcome to News Watch on Hope TV, the station where you look and live. I'm Tess Njenga and my sign language interpreter is Fiona Mweresa. These are the day's stories. President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated his directive to Kenya security agencies to absorb more National Youth Service graduates into their ranks, saying they have proved to be reliable, diligent and excellent workers. While commending the security agencies for heeding his earlier directive on the employment of NYS graduates, the president singled out the Kenya Defence Forces, that is KDF, for praise, saying the military had absorbed 500 NYS graduates in its recent recruitment exercise. The head of state spoke today in Gilgil, Nakuru County, when he presided over the passing out parade of 7,300 NYS recruits. Alice Diana begins with these reports.
7,300 National Youth Service NYS recruits graduated on Thursday at the NYS College in Gilgil, Nakuru County after successfully completing their 6-month paramilitary training. President Uhuru Kenyatta presided over the passing out parade, where he reiterated the government's commitment to continue using the NYS to build a critical mass of employable youth in the country and called on employers to prioritize sourcing of personnel from among its growing pool of graduates.
I once again reiterate my directive to the National Police Service and all other discipline services to redouble their efforts towards the absorption of the NYS cohorts into their ranks. And indeed, Inspector General, wakati unafanya recruitment next year, hawa vijana wawe uko mbele, mustari ya mbele.
As part of its broad contribution to Kenya's transformation, the head of state said NYS graduates were a key cog in the country's security machinery, working with the disciplined forces to maintain law and order and in the delivery of related services.
The service has remained a dependable entity in emergency response and disaster management. These are just but a few examples of how the NYS has become an even more critical player in our development spectrum, and the class graduating today can expect to similarly be called upon to contribute to a variety of development areas, particularly within the Big Four agenda.
At the event, also addressed by Public Service CS Professor Margaret Kobia and NYS Director General Matilda Sakwa, the president feted several recruits that excelled during the 6-month training. Newton Munene Kelly and Christine Mweni Musau won the Best Recruits Award, while Ken Odongo Jacob and Margaret Wangari Ndumi emerged the best in drills. In academics, Bernard Kiplangat Bet and Clarice Owino Omondi were the best recruits, while Stephen Kangede and Esther Jelimo led in sports.
This is the unique selling point of our youth that guarantees that the job market dependable workforce. Enlistment of our servicemen and women into the disciplined services will therefore enhance these values in those services. Besides, those that graduate with trade in different skills areas have proved to be a cut above the rest, as attested by their employers.
The performance of the Council and the management has demonstrated high standards of professionalism, patriotism, and high standards of ethical practices. And the Excellency, that's why for almost the 4th year, we have not witnessed any unethical issues in the institution.
For Hope TV News Watch, I'm Alice Diana.
Asante sana. Thank you, Alice, for that report. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has objected the nomination of Paul Mutunga Mutungi as Deputy Governor of Nairobi, citing 2019 graft and money laundering charges. EACC CEO Twalib Mbarak, in a letter to Governor Anne Kananu and the County Assembly of Nairobi, said Mutungi, who was nominated by Kananu after she was sworn in as the 3rd Nairobi governor, has pending graft cases in court, thereby making him unfit to hold office in accordance with Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Indeed, it's a proud moment for all women.
Nairobi County Governor Anne Kananu has suffered a fresh blow few weeks after she was sworn into office as the third governor of the capital city county. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC, in a letter to Kananu and the Nairobi County Assembly, has rejected her deputy governor nominee on grounds that the nominee has pending graft and money laundering case emanating from the year 2019. According to the EACC CEO Twalib Mbarak, Paul Mutunga Mutungi, who is the current City Hall Chief of Staff, was charged at the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court with graft offences allegedly committed by him, with the matter still pending in court, and therefore he is unfit to hold office in accordance with Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Mutungi was nominated in November after Kananu swearing in and was expected to be vetted and approved by the Nairobi County Assembly before being sworn into office as the next deputy governor of the Nairobi City County. Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV News Watch.
Thank you, Dickens, for that report. Moving on, DCI boss George Kinoti has today revealed horrific findings on the murder of Agnes Wanjiru, who was allegedly killed by a British soldier in Nanyuki in March 2012. Findings allege that Agnes was thrown into a septic tank while still alive. Appearing before the National Assembly's Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations, Kinoti recounted Wanjiru's last days as per investigations. Agnes' friends, Florence and Susan, who were interrogated by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations detectives, said the last time they saw Wanjiru was when she was accompanied by a British soldier to his room. Kinoti said the British soldiers who were at Lions Court Hotel on the night Wanjiru went missing have since been identified and investigations into their involvement launched. Kinoti has pledged to expedite investigations and pave way for the prosecution of Wanjiru's killer. An autopsy conducted on June 13, 2012, indicated she died of chest and abdominal pains. To some politics, Deputy President William Ruto and Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga have today continued their vote-hunting missions in the counties of Machakos and Migori, respectively, as the race for numbers intensifies. DP Ruto toured Yatta constituency where he popularized his Kazi ni Kazi ideology through the UDA party, while Raila Odinga consolidated his support base in Migori ahead of the 2022 general elections. Our very own Kennedy Kimani has more on this story.
ODM leader Raila Odinga has on Thursday toured Awendo sub-county in Migori on a vote-hunting mission seeking to consolidate his traditional voting base ahead of the 2022 polls. This comes barely a month after Deputy President William Ruto made a similar tour in Migori, accompanied by the area governor Okoth Obado. Speaking while presiding over the opening of a new Kenya Medical Training College in Awendo, Raila Odinga said that if elected as the next president, each and every Kenyan citizen will have a health insurance cover, and those unable to pay, his government will facilitate them.
That effective from next year, we will be able to roll out the universal health care, that each and every Kenyan citizen will have health insurance. Those who are unable to pay themselves, the government will pay for them. So that all our people are properly covered in terms of medical insurance.
On his second day visit in Machakos County, Deputy President William Ruto has continued to woo voters from the region, urging the residents from Ukambani to support his 2022 presidential bid so as to jointly form the next government. Ruto further reiterated that the conversation moving forward should be about reviving the economy by giving Kenyans jobs, but not politicians planning on amending the constitution so as to create positions of power for themselves.
Mnajua mimi nashindana na hao watu wadosi wengi, na saa hizi wamekasirika na mimi. Ati mimi nimeenda kuchochea watu wa huko chini, Nimewaambia wanaweza kupata hii, wanaweza kupata hii. Ati huyu mtu angewacha kwanza tujipangie mambo ya viongozi, tupange vyeo, tupange mamlaka. Mimi nawauliza, mbona sisi tuko na ubinafsi kama viongozi? Tunapanga mambo yetu, tunasahau mambo ya raia. Kama mnasema tupange vyeo na mamlaka ya viongozi, siku gani tutapanga mambo ya wananchi jameni? Hata Mungu atatulaani kwa sababu ataona sisi ni watu wanafiki.
Ukienda Motomoa, chama ni UDA, rais ni Ruto. Ukienda Kitui, chama ni UDA, rais ni Ruto. Ukienda hapa Mwingi, chama ni UDA, rais ni nani? Sasa nyinyi watu wa Machakos, mumejipanga namna gani?
Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch.
Much appreciated, Kennedy. Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi has welcomed the move taken by the Electoral Agency to pull out of a multi-agency committee formed to plan next year's general elections. Speaking at the party headquarters in Nairobi, Mudavadi said the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission should be left to operate as an independent institution devoid of any interference from other government bodies. Last week, the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, withdrew from the multi-agency committee put in place to prepare for the elections, saying the law only rests the burden of election preparedness on the commission. Speaking during the launch of the party's digital platforms, Mudavadi said the IEBC role should be left to the commission and not be hijacked by people with interests on the outcome of the elections.
We want to state that Chebukati's move to reassert the independence of the IEBC is absolutely critical and a very important statement for the people of Kenya. It is the IEBC that is mandated to conduct elections in this country. And their role must not be hijacked anywhere along the path to the 2022 elections. Their role must not be hijacked. We want free and fair elections. After all, what we are going through is that the genesis of tension in this country has always been botched election processes. If that is the case, then we must make sure IEBC works independently. The commissioners must not be intimidated. The staff must not be intimidated. They must not be threatened. We should not have anything to do with the Musandos revisiting us. We want free and fair elections.
Moving on, Kenya has received 2.2 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine today as donation from the German government through the COVAX facility. The consignment was received by Ministry of Health officials led by Kenya's COVID-19 Vaccine Task Force Chairman Dr. Willy Sakwale. Kenya has so far vaccinated over 7.1 million people against the virus that has killed 5,335 people in the country. Dolly Murigi has more.
The shipment arrived in Kenya on a matinee cargo flight early Thursday, just a day after Kenya received another 1,462,400 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to help with vaccination efforts. The vaccines come amid heightened call for mass vaccination in the country, particularly given the growing global concern over the Omicron variant.
Today we've received the largest ever consignment of COVID-19 vaccines donated to Kenya. We have just received 2,292,000 doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, a kind donation from the Federal Republic of Germany. So we are very, very happy with this donation. It is the largest single donation. And I want to assure Kenyans that the vaccine doses situation is really changing. Next week, we are going to even receive an even larger consignment. So far, this donation brings to 16 million, over 16 million doses delivered to Kenya. And we have now vaccinated about 7.2 million people.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, speaking to a joint session of Parliament on Tuesday, urged Kenyans to get their vaccines, saying they are the best weapon against the disease that has wreaked havoc across the world, killing millions and sending economies into remission.
We rolled out a national vaccine deployment plan aiming at vaccinating 10 million adults by June of 2022 and approximately 16 million by June of 2023. With regard to the COVID-19 vaccine production, we have set out to implement the lessons of self-reliance, which was one of the key learning points of the pandemic.
The uptake of the vaccine in the country has in recent days been on the rise, following a government warning on an intended decision to lock out those who won't have been inoculated by December 21st from accessing key services. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe on November 21st announced that those who fail to take vaccines will be denied access to public transport and hotels beginning December 21st. He further announced that the government will also withhold key services, including those offered by Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, among other agencies.
Using domestic flights. B, show proof of vaccination before use of train services. That is SGR. C, show proof of vaccination before boarding buses, matatus, and or regional travelers. D, all motorable operators, that is, drivers, conductors, border riders, pilots, air hostesses, and all other working in the sector should be fully vaccinated and carry proof of vaccination at all times.
These measures are meant to enhance the public health good. They are not in any way making it mandatory. However, we need to be in an environment where we all feel safe. We need to be sure that people are vaccinated. Evidence shows that people not vaccinated shed out more viruses into the environment. That therefore poses a public health risk. Currently, we are working with various government departments and ministries and departments, looking at the measures that were announced, and we have resolved that we are going to fully implement these measures as from 21st of December 2021.
Kagwe pointed out that some of the directives are derived from the Public Health Act, which he said empowers the ministry to take such drastic measures, especially during a pandemic. Kenya is on high alert after the discovery of the COVID-19 Omicron variant, which was first reported by South Africa. The government has since intensified its surveillance protocols to tame the spread of the new variant, which has cast a shadow of uncertainty across world economies. The World Health Organization, WHO, has since said it could take several weeks to understand whether or not the Omicron is more transmissible and whether it's resulting in a more severe disease, as well as how effective current treatment and vaccines are against it. Dolly Mirigi, Hope TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Dolly. Still on COVID statistics today, 96 people tested positive for the disease from a sample size of 4,040 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now at 2.4%. Total confirmed positive cases are 255,260, while cumulative tests so far conducted are 2,843,958. At the same time, 26 patients have recovered from the disease, pushing total recoveries to 248,376. No fatalities have been recorded in the last 24 hours, hence cumulative fatalities remain at 5,335. As of December 1st, 2021, a total of 7,303,643 vaccines had so far been administered across the country. Of these, 4,483,815 were partially vaccinated, while those fully vaccinated were 2,819,828. Moving on, 16 families spent the night in the cold on Wednesday after a fire caused by an electric fault gutted down 16 houses in Bondeni slums, Nakuru County. The affected families said efforts to contain the inferno were hampered by lack of proper firefighting equipment. According to one of the victims, Collins Otieno, he was away during the incident and lost all his belongings in the fire. Eyewitnesses say the area had experienced blackout for the better part of Wednesday, only for the fire to break out when power was restored in the evening. Residents said efforts to reach the Nakuru County Fire Brigade were futile, despite President Kenyatta commissioning Nakuru City firefighting equipment.
Tulipata tu kumechomeka ploti yenye naishi ndio ilichomeka. Hatukupata msaada yoyote ama zimamoto, hakuna zimamoto ilikuwa karibu. Msaada ya maji tulipata tu kwa majirani na shule yenye iko hapa karibu. Mimi watoto walikuwa wametoka kidogo. Mimi nililala kwa jirani. Kwa mama aliyenisaidia.
Wangu nilikuwa na rooms 2, lakini kwenye kulichomeka tuseme plot mzima na ilikuwa na rooms 16. Na wote hakuna mtu mwenye aliokoa kitu yake, vitu zote zilienda. Sasa hata hatuna pa kwenda, hatuna vile tunaweza jisaidia, tuko tu hivyo vile tuko. Hiyo moto kulingana na vile inasemekana, sisi wote tukukua kwa ploti, lakini mambo yalitendeka, inasemekana moto ni kama stima ndio ilisababisha.
Tumepatwa na hii mkosi ya moto, tumeunguliwa na kila kitu, hakuna kenye tumeokoa, tumeunguliwa na kila kitu, hatuna manguo, hatuna nini. Venye umeona tumesaidiwa hivi, hizi ndio tumepata za kwanza, hakuna mwenye amejitokeza kutusaidia saa hizi. Sasa sisi tunaomba mwenye akona na roho ya tu ya utu atusaidie kenye anaweza tusaidia nayo, juu saa hizi hakuna kenye tuko nayo.
Kitu yangu nilitoka kazini nikakuta kila kitu imeungua. Uniform plus vitabu za watoto yote imeungua. Hata vitabu niko na mtoto wa form 4 vitabu zimeungua.
Ningeomba county yetu ya Nakuru kutolewa fire engine. Huu moto kama tungekuwa na fire engine hapa karibu Njoro, ingekuwa dakika 5 na tungeweza kusave mali mingi. Na ninaomba viongozi wengine ambao tunapigania nao viti na wengine wanataka zile viti kubwa wakuje hapa Jawadho ili tusaidie hawa watu wasinyeshewe, kila mtu alete kitu na baadaye tuweze kuwajengea ili wawache kukua destitute.
Quite unfortunate. On that sad note, let's take our first commercial break on Newswatch tonight. We have much more news after the break.
Furahia na Optiven.
Dad! Gari mpya!
Umetoa wapi gari mpya?
Optiven wametusort.
Optiven?
Nunua any of our value-added properties ama redeem installment ya property yako. Kwa kila malipo ya 10,000 unapata 1 entry point kwenye draw ya Furahia na Optiven promotion. Airtime kushindaniwa kila siku, holiday kila wiki, shinda ploti na gari kila mwezi, na grand prize ya Mercedes-Benz C180. Ni rahisi, buy ama redeem na ushinde na Furahia na Optiven.
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship, only on Extended Worship.
A very warm welcome back. Kenya continues to draw closer to having 0% HIV prevalence rate, with the current national HIV prevalence rate, at 4%. According to President Uhuru Kenyatta, who spoke to Nakuru on Wednesday, the reduction in prevalence rate was attributed to multi-sectoral efforts. Uhuru was impressed with the increase in uptake of antiretroviral drugs, noting that they were the reason for the reduction in HIV/AIDS-related deaths.
Over 3 decades ago, the first case of HIV was detected here in Kenya, a disease that back then little was known about. However, Kenya has come from far with information now readily available to almost every person, with even school-going children being equipped with information as early on as in class 6. It is said that information is power. Access to information collaboratively with other efforts by government and other non-governmental organizations have propelled Kenya to where it is now, with a HIV prevalence rate of 4%, down from 6% in 2013. However, it does not stop there, with the government promising to intensify their effort that will ensure 95% testing of HIV, 95% admission into ARV treatment, and 0 prevalence rate in the coming days. President Uhuru Kenyatta, speaking in Nakuru as the world marked World AIDS Day, attributed the positive indicators to the growing government investment in the diagnosis, prevention and management of HIV and AIDS and related illnesses, adding that increase in uptake of ARVs was a major contributor to reduced deaths by HIV.
I'm happy to note that our combined efforts as Kenyans has turned our country's story to one of hope rather than despair. The number of AIDS-related deaths in 2013 stood at 58,456. This number has come down to some 19,486 so far, a reduction of 67%, but still accounts for loss of life. Kenya is among the African countries leading in achieving universal access to antiretroviral therapy for HIV management, and we also lead the pack in providing more optimized treatment regimes to prevent HIV transmission and to prolong the lives of our people living with HIV.
In a separate event in Nairobi, in celebrations to mark World AIDS Day on Wednesday, during the launch of the Nairobi County HIV and AIDS Implementation Plan, Nairobi Metropolitan Services NMS boss Mohamed Badi said it was important to lower mother-to-child transmission and further lower the prevalence rate, especially in Nairobi, which has 167,446 people living with HIV and 7th highest prevalence in the country.
Tulisaini ratiba ya kumaliza HIV AIDS by 2030, lakini sasa inaonekana ni jukumu gumu. Shauri za sharia tofauti na watu kusikiza mwelekeo wa kumaliza huu ugonjwa. Kwa hivyo yangu ni kuhusia viongozi wote, tafadhalini tushirikiane, tuhakikishe kuwa tumeangamiza huu ugonjwa by 2030.
Grace Wangoi for OpTV News Watch.
Thank you, Grace, for that report. As the world observes 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, residents of Transmara East Sub-County have vowed to eradicate female genital mutilation (FGM) by the year 2022. The 16 days that kicked off on November 25th and ran until December 10th are to call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls across the world. Transmara Sub-County has 4 wards that have come together to say no to outdated cultural practices that hinder education in the area. Here's Alice Diana with more.
Cases of female genital mutilation (FGM) that were common in Transmara Sub-County, Narok County, are slowly coming to an end as a result of the constituency collaborating with various stakeholders. Olomosani Location Chief Nicholas Mutai says they are working with the church to educate families on the importance of giving their girls a decent life by ensuring they complete the system of education. Chief Mutai reiterated that they have agreed with the community to arrest all perpetrators of FGM and ensure they go through the court process so that they can serve as a lesson to other members of the society.
Visa vingi unasikia watoto wanaolewa mapema, vile tunasikia kwamba watoto wetu wanapata mimba wakiwa bado hawaja pata kufika miaka 18 na hata kupata kusoma mpaka vyuo vikuu. Vile tumekuwa hapo mbeleni na visa vingi vya ukeketaji ya wasichana, lakini tukiwa kama sub-county ya Transmara East tunapongeza watu wetu hasa village elders na wale CHVs wa mahospitali zetu kwa kushirikiana pamoja kuona kwamba hii mambo ya ukeketaji imemalizwa kabisa.
Richard Kibet, a Nyumba Kumi member, has asked women to advise their girls to avoid early pregnancies and FGM that pull the economy of the nation behind, and lauded the local leaders for collaborating to fight the practice by exposing any family that had intentions of taking their girls through the practice.
Tukisonga mbele kidogo kwa sababu tunataka vitu yote iwe safi. Tuna deal pia na mama wachunge wasichana wasiwe wakitembea ovyo ovyo na kusaa ovyo ovyo kama vile tumeandikwa kuwa namba 1 Transmara East kwa early pregnancies. Tumekataa katakata na tumekataa pia maneno ya kukeketa wasichana tumdo, tumekataa na tumekataa kabisa. Tunahimiza wamama wajichunge kwa hiyo laini. Wasichana wote wakae vile iko, wasiudhuru mwili yao na kuchunga masomo na kuendelea.
Bismarck Leteipa, a youth leader in Emruadikir, observed that the society is now civilized and girls are preferring education to retrogressive cultural practices like FGM, adding that FGM brings stigmatization to the victims and discriminates girls in the society, making them feel like lesser human beings in the society.
Miaka mingi ambayo yamepita, wasichana wetu wamekuwa wakisoroteshwa, wakilazimika kutahiriwa eti ndio waonekane kwamba ni watu wa maana katika jamii. Hiyo kama vijana ambao wameenda shule na tumeona vile dunia inasonga, tunapinga. Kwa maana tunajua ya kwamba ule mwanamke hajatahiriwa na ule mwenye ametahiriwa wote ni sawa. Alafu pia tunajua changamoto za wanawake kutahiriwa. Kama kwa mfano kuna hizi infections, wasichana kutumiwa kisu moja kufanya hiyo tohara inakuwa ni hatari.
Na hii ya watoto hapana tahirisha. Hataki kutahirisha. Nataka kuenda mbele. Nataka enda mbele kusoma nini naenda mbele. Hapana kutahirisha.
On his part, Narok Public Health Officer Edwin Tankoi acknowledged that cases of FGM had decreased in the sub-county, but called on the residents to be vigilant in reporting any person involved in the crime.
Ona talanda ya wasichana na girl child, msichana inafaa alindwe na inapaswa ashughulikie ili ile talanda ambayo watoto wako naye tuweze kuharvest. Hawa watoto wakipewa nafasi waendelee, maana wakipashwa tohara hawa watoto baada ya muda ama wakisha pashwa tohara unakuta watoto wanaoleka, na watoto hawa wako na talanta ile ambaye ingependa kunufaisha ama kubenefit community.
For Hope TV News Watch, I'm Alice Diana.
Much appreciated, Alice. The National Police Service has launched a road safety campaign in Malindi Sub-County, Kilifi County, ahead of the festive season. The Malindi traffic base has started sensitizing matatu, tuk-tuk and boda-boda riders on the need to obey traffic rules as they carry out their daily operations to minimize accidents. Traffic base Commander Abubakar Mwawasa said his office, in collaboration with the Roads Authority, will erect extra bumps at Maziwa stages in Matsangoni area and at Mida stage, which are prone to accidents.
Tumechukua mikakati kama vile mnaona, tumeanza kufanya ile kitu inaitwa road safety campaign
na road safety campaign tumeanza nyuma, na leo tumekuja hapa kuhamasisha watu wa bodaboda, watu wa matatu na hata abiria, kuwaeleza jinsi tunaweza kukubaliana na tushirikiane, tuone nchi yetu itakuwa bila ya accident kwa hii msimu unaokuja wa Christmas na mwaka mpya. Tumekuwa na bodaboda, tunaeleza vile vitu vinatakikana, mtu awe na driving license, mtu ana insurance, mtu awe na reflective, na ajue nidhamu ya kuendesha, zile requirements ambazo zinatakikana, na tunashukuru wanafuata vile inakuwa. Madereva pia tumeongea na wao na tumeweka mikakati ya kuwa tutakuwa na mara kwa mara vitu vinaitwa vizuizi katika barabara. Mara kwa mara tutakuwa na speed guns ambazo tutakuwa nazo, na hata alcohol law tutaiweka ili mtu asikunywe pombe akifikiria ataepuka mtego. Wewe utakuwa kwa mtego kwa sababu alcohol law, tunapokushika tutakwambia upulize, na ukipatikana umepita ile kiwango, basi tutakupeleka kotini.
Kama mwenyekiti wa wenye magari ya matatu Kilifi, sisi tungeomba na tumekuwa tukisisitiza madereva wetu wawe waangalifu zaidi barabarani msimu huu. Tumekubaliana na viongozi wote wa matatu, tuna watu wetu barabarani ambao wanazunguka wakiangalia hali vile gari zetu zinapelekwa barabarani, na gari zetu kwa sasa ziko hali nzuri. Kusema ukweli, Kilifi County tuna sako 22. Hiyo ni kama gari matatu na mabasi kama magari 3,500 ndio ambazo zina operate Kilifi County.
The Kenya Ports Authority has handed over a 60-bed capacity dormitory block to Shimolatewa High School to ease the students' population bulge witnessed at the school. The 3.9 million Kenya shillings dormitory block was partly co-funded by KPA, who donated 2.9 million Kenya shillings under their corporate social investment program, with the school topping up the balance. Student population at the school has been on a steady rise, with the current population standing at a staggering 1,647 students, with the current admission rate being about 500 students annually. Speaking during the handing over ceremony held at the school on Wednesday, KPA Acting Managing Director Ambassador John Mwangemi said the timeliness of the new facility could not be gainsaid as the school faces a student population pressure following the government's 100% school transition initiative.
I'm sure this has put significant strain on the accommodation. The timeliness, therefore, of this facility cannot be gainsaid. This new 60% capacity dormitory was constructed at a shared cost of Kenya shillings 3.9 million shillings, with KPA donating Kenya shillings 2.9 million under the KPA Corporate Social Investment Program. The Kenya Ports Authority Community Development Intervention Program has been running in a more structured way from the year 2000. Our objectives are in tandem with the Millennium Development Goals, with focus on uplifting the education, health, environment, and sports sectors, among other areas of humanitarian interventions.
I also want to thank the board for facilitating the government of Kenya to achieve the presidential directive of 100% transition. Because when we are allocating students, we don't look at the capacity. That's why last year or this year we gave 500 boys. And because even this year the enrollment of KCPE students are higher than last year, we are likely to add another 100. It is a school of choice. And I'm saying this one because I've done analysis. This is the best school in Mombasa. This is the best school, boys' school in coastal region.
This is the school that the Lord has.
The County Assembly of Embu has directed the county government to immediately reinstate suspended Embu Water and Sanitation Company Managing Director Engineer Felix Mutura. Engineer Mutura was given marching orders 3 months ago by the Board of Directors alongside 4 others in the management team, leading to protests by company workers opposed to the move. At one point, the company paralyzed its operations and water was disconnected in its area of jurisdiction for 3 days after workers made good their threat of shutting down services until the embattled MD was reinstated.
So what I'm calling upon from His Excellency the Governor is that one, the Embu County as it stands, it has so many destabilized. It is destabilized. When you go to health department, everyone is crying. When you go to education, no bursaries for our students for now 2 consecutive years. When you go to EWASCO, everyone is crying. People are on demonstrations. I would call upon His Excellency the Governor to at least come out and speak, because when our children are crying, as a good father, you ought to come out and at least to establish why there is a cry with our children.
The CEC, Water, Lands, Environment and Natural Resources should keep off from the operations of EWASCO. Again, the committee has also recommended that the suspended MD must be reinstated immediately, because they found that there were no underlying factors which made him to be suspended.
Apart from us being our lawmakers, hata kumobilize watu kule tunaweza mobilize. Maana hiyo ni kazi yetu na tuko na watu. Hatuwezi kukubali haribu maji tukiwa hapa. Tunaweza mtoa kwa ofisi na tunaweza kutoa hata wale wako kule kwa ofisi tuwaone nje. Na tuseme kazi iendelee vile inatakiwa kufanya. Kama hawatatii sheria, wao wanachukua sheria mikononi mwao, basi tutaenda kwa barabara.
National Environmental Complaints Committee has raised the red flag over the future of Lake Ol Bolosat, which is located in Nyandarua County. This is as the lake continues to face degradation due to massive encroachment of its riparian land. The environment watchdog has since formed a multi-agency task force to spearhead the takeover of the management of the lake by the Kenya Wildlife Service. While raising concerns over the continued degradation of the lake, the environmental agency members Isabella Masinde and James Sapuro have called for the gazettement of the natural resource for better management by the Wildlife Agency.
Ni hawa watu, hata hiyo mashamba inasemekana inaharibiwa, ni mashamba yote ambayo yako ndani ya riparian area. Kwa hivyo ni watu wenyewe ndio wamekuja kuencroach lake, na kwa hivyo wataharibu ma environment ya hapa, sababu hawa wanyama ama hippos wamekosa grazing ground.
After this project which was done, the MOT project, the conflict has subsided to some percentage. Conflict imeteremuka kiasi. Pia ningependa tena, kabla sijamaliza mazungumzo yangu, kusema ya kwamba livelihood ya wananchi wanaoishi karibu Lake Ol Bolosat inafaa waelimishwe namna ya kufanya alternative livelihood that is compatible to wildlife conservation. Maybe tuwafundishe kuondokea kilimo sana, ndio tuweze fanya protection pale na tuweze promote tourism.
Environment Committee tumekuwa tukikuja hapa, tunajaribu kusensitize wananchi vile ofisa wa KWS amefanya kuhusu namna mzuri ya kutoka hapa, kwa sababu kwao hapa kuna dhuru mazingira ya hapa.
Let's take a look at international news. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has blasted what he called travel apartheid as the US and other countries have implemented travel bans against South Africa to stop the spread of the Omicron variant. While addressing the press, Guterres said he was concerned with the roughly 56 nations that instituted travel bans just days after the Omicron variant was first detected in South Africa. Guterres said the restrictions were not only deeply concerning but ineffective, adding that there are instruments to have safe travel.
What is unacceptable is when we have now this virus everywhere. What is unacceptable is to have one part of the world that is one of the most vulnerable parts of the world economy condemned to a lockout when they were the ones that revealed the existence of a new variant that, by the way, already existed in other parts of the world, including in Europe, as we know. So this is a very strong appeal that I launch, appeal to common sense. We have the instruments to have safe travel. Let's use those instruments to avoid this kind of, allow me to say, travel apartheid, which I think is unacceptable.
Meanwhile, in South Africa, health officials say the new coronavirus variant Omicron has now become dominant in the country and is driving a sharp increase in new infections. Some 8,500 new COVID infections were registered in the latest daily figures, which is almost double the 4,300 cases confirmed the previous day. Omicron has now been detected in at least 24 countries around the world. According to the World Health Organization, South Africa was the first country to detect the highly mutated new variant. Its National Institute for Communicable Diseases has said more than 70% of all the virus genomes in its sequenced last month have been on the new variant. In the US, Dr. Anthony Fauci, speaking at a White House press briefing, announced that the first confirmed US case of the Omicron coronavirus variant was discovered in California.
The first confirmed case of COVID-19 caused by the Omicron variant detected in the United States. The individual was a traveler who returned from South Africa on November the 22nd and tested positive on November the 29th. The individual is self-quarantining, and all close contacts have been contacted, and all close contacts thus far have tested negative.
And we now take another commercial break. Business and sports news is coming up.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Let's continue with business. NCBA Bank has released 600 million Kenya shillings towards the National Police Service leasing deal in partnership with Isuzu East Africa. The leasing deal will see NCBA hand over 143 vehicles, 115 double cabin pickups, 26 Isuzu SUV Max and 2 NQR buses. Under the agreement, the government will pay lease rentals for the vehicles on a quarterly basis, while Isuzu East Africa will provide service and maintenance through its vast dealer network across the country, ensuring good uptime of the vehicles while in use.
So when you are developing a complex leasing program to supply over 500 units to the National Police, normally there is quite a bit of opportunity for many partners. This is a transaction of above 3 billion shillings, and there is great opportunity to partner with other companies. For instance, NCBA, they provide the financing and the leasing. Star Rental, those are all leasing partners that in the lease contract, you have the main supply of the product, but you need someone who also can supply financing, insurance, and the banks and the leasing partners are very good at coining such programs.
In partnership for long, we've been financing the customers for Isuzu, and now this opportunity for leasing, this is the second batch we are doing, the second phase. We did the first phase 4 with Isuzu, where we delivered over 100 vehicles to the National Police Service. That was worth of 1 billion. And now that phase has gone 3 years successfully. And we've been excited to see that Isuzu support, the after sale they have given to the vehicles.
Greenland Feather Limited, the microfinance arm of KTDA Holdings, has reduced the interest rate on loans to smallholder tea farmers to 8%, down from 21%, effective 1st December 2021. This new rate applies to both existing and new customers. The move aims to increase access to affordable credit for smallholder farmers to enable them meet their obligations. This move fulfills the pledge made by the current KTDA Holdings Board, made during the agitation for reforms in the tea industry.
It is aimed at increasing the access to affordable credit to small farmers to enable them meet their obligation. The move fulfills the pledge made by the current KTDA Holding Board during agitation of the new reforms in the tea industry. For a long time, farmers have not been financially empowered due to challenges in accessing affordable credit. We are now glad that our farmers can access loans at adjusted rate of 8%. During our agitation for reforms in the tea sector, we expressed some concern that the credit to the farmers was too expensive, making it inaccessible. The existing debt burden is a great threat to empowerment of the farmers and therefore unsustainable. Today we are happy to mark this transformative milestone that will significantly increase the access of credit to the farmers. This move follows a number of reform initiatives by the new KTDA board has instituted to ensure farmers get more money in their pocket. The initiative include the increase of initial monthly pay per kilo of green leaf from 16 shillings to 21 shillings. The setting up of the minimum reserve price on the auction that has seen the price rise by 53% in the last 4 months. There is importation of 85,000 metric.
Norwegian Karsten Warholm and Jamaican Elaine Thompson-Herah have been named World Athletics Athletes of the Year. Warholm won the men's award over fellow Olympic gold medalists Joshua Cheptegei of Uganda, Ryan Crosser from USA, Mundo Duplantis of Sweden, and Kenya's Eliud Kipchoge. He smashed the world record at the Tokyo Olympics to set one of the greatest Olympic track performances of all times. Thompson Hera earned the Women's Award among finalists that included Sifan Hassan of Netherlands, Faith Kipyegon from Kenya, Sydney McLaughlin from the USA, and Yulima Rogers of Venezuela. She became the first woman to win 100 meters, 200 meters, and 4x100 meters gold at one Olympics since Florence Griffin Joyner in 1988. Thompson Hera also clocked the second fastest 100-meter and 200 meters times in history, 10.54 to 21.53, trailing only Griffith Joyner's world records. To some last night's English football action, Liverpool thrashed local rivals Everton 4-1, while victories for Chelsea and Manchester City ensued. The Premier League top three remain separated by just 2 points. Leaders Chelsea were made to work hard for a 2-1 win at Watford in one of 2 games held up by lengthy delays to allow treatment for an ill supporter in the crowd. Elsewhere, former Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard could not do his old club a favour as his 100% start as Aston Villa manager was ended by a 2-1 defeat to City. West Ham's hopes of a top 4 finish suffered another blow as Brighton struck late to snatch a 1-1 draw at the London Stadium. Leicester came from behind twice to salvage a 2-2 draw at Southampton. Burnley edged a point closer to survival but have won once this season after a 0-0 draw at Wolves. And it's a wrap for Newswatch tonight. Thank you for your valuable company. On behalf of the whole team, we appreciate you. I'm Tess Njenga, and my sign language interpreter is Fiona Mweresa. Have a good night. Till next time. Here is Friday's weather forecast.